everybody, it's Amanda from Queen of Hearts Photography and welcome back to my tutorials. Today I am going to do this fun photo here of my nephew. We went to the beach this weekend and I got some really nice shots, and he just turned 3, and I love taking his picture because he's still in that wonderful baby phase where they're paying no attention to you or your camera, so you can catch them in their own little world. And I instantly loved this image, and I knew that what I wanted was to add a very vintage beachy type effect. But one of the things that I did to this was I added in a sun here, because you can see the sun reflecting off the water, and I didn't go in and fix any of the highlights here because I knew that I wanted to put a little something in the background. Now the sun was just up higher out of the frame, and I wanted it to be behind the water here. So I'm going to show you how I added that quickly, how I added some sun rays reflecting off of that, and then I'm going to show you how I added the perfect vintage beach effect. Now, in my opinion, I don't use vintage effects very often, but with beach images, for some reason they just work so well together, and I knew that's what I wanted. So I'm going to show you how I did that. First thing we're going to do is add the sun back here. And what I did was I took the Enchanting Light overlays. This is the second set and the most recent, and I took a couple of sunbursts. So the first one I took was Sunburst 1. Just going to grab it, drag it over and drop. And I apologize that my Photoshop is running kind of slow today. We're going to set that to screen, and then I'm just going to grab it and kind of drag it up and place it where I want it. Probably right about there. I'm going to go ahead and set it. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to blur this. So filter blur, Gaussian blur, and I'm going to bring this up to probably close to 50. I apologize if you can hear my boys in the background. They're downstairs in the playroom and it's not too loud, but they're being a little rowdy. So then I'm going to go back into the Enchanting Lights, and I'm going to add a Sunburst 3. Drag it and drop it, same thing. We're going to set it to screen again, and then we're just going to kind of pull it up and place it. Now obviously you could use any sunburst that you wanted. Don't have to use the exact ones that I used. Now this one, I'm going to go in with the blur, so we're going to go in with filter, blur, Gaussian blur, but I'm going to bring it way down. I only want like a 10 on this. I want it to be slightly blurry just so it's kind of out of focus, but I want that 3D layered effect, which is why I added 2 instead of 1. So you can still see the rays coming off, and it's not so blurred that it kind of blends into the background. So I'm going to go down to the first sunburst here, add a layer mask. They are being kind of loud down there. My son's got an obsession with Bon Jovi. He thinks he's a rock star, so he gets out the old pots and pans and plays the drums. So anyway, I'm going to go in at 100% with this first sunburst, and I want to erase it completely off of my nephew because I don't want it to wash him out. I don't want it to fade him out. So I'm going to erase that all off. I'm going to go back up to the second sunburst I added, add a layer mask. I'm going to drop this down to about 50%, the opacity of this one, because I just want to brush it off enough so it doesn't wash him out again, but I want it to still kind of be reflecting on him a little bit, but just enough. Just enough that you can see it, but not enough that it washes out his face. So that's how I'm going to leave that one. Now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I added these sun rays. Now these sun rays are not available for purchase on the site yet, but they are currently right now free with any purchase. So I figured I would throw this in and show you how to quickly use one. They're basically the same as the light overlays. You know, you drag them, you drop them, you put them where you want them, you set them to screen, or what I'm going to do on this one, I'm going to grab this sun ray here, number 9, grab it, drop it, and I'm actually going to set this one to soft light because I want a more intense look. Now obviously I want the center of this one to be up here, whoopsies, up here. So we're going to have to do some stretching. I'm trying to figure out where this, okay, so it's right about there. So we're going to have to do some stretching and some fitting. So just kind of stretch it out to where you want it or wherever you need it. That's pretty good, I think. It's kind of hard to see the middle because it's so bright. So I think I'm going to leave it just like that. Maybe pull it down just, oh, he's down there singing Bon Jovi, oh goodness. Apologize if you can hear that. Anyway, I'm going to set this. And you can see this one, the before and the after. Now I'm going to go in with a layer mask on this, and I'm going to keep it on the 50% and try to just get him. Oh my goodness. Putting on a show down there. Make this a little bit smaller just so I can kind of come down here and get his arm a little bit and then his little feet down here. Maybe his little rump there. Okay, so there's the before and there's the after. On this image, the sun rays are just very, very faint, which is what I wanted them to be, just so you can kind of see them there, but so they're not so intense that you can't, that they kind of take away from the overall image itself. So I think I'm going to fade this. So make sure you have this layer selected, and I'm going to go in with a little bit of a blur. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I'm going to stick to just like that 10 right there, just to blur it ever so slightly. Hit OK. All right, so there we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and flatten all of these layers. So there we have our sun. Now you could go in and you could build up the sunset, like you could, you know, color the background, make it more sunset-like, like color-wise. But for me, I didn't want the sunset to be the focal point of this image. I wanted it to be on my nephew, but I wanted to add a little bit of something, but just not the focus of the image. So I'm not going to color this or tone this in any way, but you certainly could. So I'm going to show you how I got this vintage effect here real quickly. We're going to go in. I've got my Chic and Shabby set here, and this set is beautiful for summer, especially beach pictures. And Carnival here is one of my favorites. I'm going to run this. Now we're going to bring down the opacity of this because we're going to be running multiple actions. And I don't want the warmness to overpower it. You see how warm and yellow it is? I don't want that to overpower the image because the image is already pretty warm. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this to about 40%. Hit OK. You can see the before and the after. I'm going to go ahead and flatten this. We're going to come on down to the floor set here, and I'm going to run one of my other favorite actions, which is Golden Afternoon. Now I'm going to run this, and I'm also going to drop the opacity of this, so don't panic when it comes out really warm. Okay, you can see how warm this is, but since the image was already warm and we added already like a vintage tone to it, we don't want it to be too warm. So we're going to drop this down to also 40%, and I'm going to flatten this. Now, because my idea for this image was more of like a faded vintage effect, I wanted the warmth, but I wanted it to be kind of faded also. I'm actually going to go in with a simple saturation layer here and just drop down those reds. So you go to the saturation, just go to reds, and I'm going to drop the saturation down just ever so slightly, about 10, so that way you can see the before and the after. So it's kind of faded. Since reds seem to be the overwhelming color, if there were a lot of colors in this image, I would have brought down the saturation in general. But I just wanted to bring down those reds a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to save that. And here we have the completed image. I'm going to show you the before. Here's the before. You can see the sunset back there, the rays that are coming through just ever so slightly. And then you have this perfect beach vintage edit to this. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that this summer when you're taking lots of beach images, you have a new edit that you could add and do. And like I said, the sun rays currently are free with any purchase right now. I'm not sure when they will be available in the shop to purchase separately. I haven't set a date for that yet. But I hope that you enjoyed this, and until next time, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.